I see we have the presence of Mr. Colin Bradford with us this morning.
I am the instructor for today.
Ooh, aren't we lucky?
I don't know about that. But thanks.
Have you had coffee yet?
What's that?
Have you had coffee yet?
Oh yeah, I've taught a class already today, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Should be
awesome.
Should be
well,
easy.
Welcome everyone. What's that?
I said should be easy then to just get you rambling on, and we can rest.
I have a tendency to ramble on. That is for sure. So, so we're recording this just so everybody knows. So if you need to zip out, no problem. You will get an email with the recording on it. So those of you that have been in Ignite, anybody take Ignite before? And those of you that don't have your camera on, can you turn your cameras on, please? Oh, wait. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Put your clothes on, clean your face.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even shave this morning. I should have shaved, but I didn't. Awesome.
Cool. Shouldn't have told on yourself.
Yeah. All right. So has anybody taken Ignite before on this call? Jamie, you did. Okay. And has everybody been to the first 3 sessions of this Ignite so far? Awesome. Okay. Is this the first session for anybody? Brand spanking new?
This is session 4.
This is session 4, but is this your first time taking this class?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. First time in Ignite.
Okay. But you've taken an Ignite class before? Or a course? Okay, a session?
Just through KW, just recently.
She has been here the last 3 sessions.
That's
okay,
correct.
That was my question. Thank you. That was my question. Thanks.
That's what I was trying to say. This is class 4 of.
It is class 4, but I'm just wondering because there's people that have just joined Keller Williams, and this might be their first.
Oh yeah, no, I've been trying to attend all of them. Okay. Oh my gosh, I didn't print today's out. My printer broke on me this weekend from printing Ignite out.
That's okay. That's okay. If you got scrap piece of paper, blank pieces of paper, you can use that. So
up on your phone, it's good.
Have you guys done the missions for today?
I've started them, but they're not completed. It's on the goal for the week for the 12 people.
Okay. So the key thing with Ignite, okay, is you have a day of content and then you have a day of implementation. Then you have a day of content, then you have a day of implementation. Okay. When you miss a day on implementation, you get behind the 8 ball, right? That 8 ball becomes
I was under
massive.
The understanding for the mission though, that those 12 we were supposed to do over the next few weeks, that we weren't supposed to do it all in one day.
The key thing to any program you take is implementation of what you learn.
Right away.
We literally, we just talked about that on the last call, right? We're using that class of, because Keller Williams, and this is not a shot at, this is very, very, known about Keller Williams globally around the world. Keller Williams, the content is like drinking from a firehouse. There is more content that you can shake your stick at. The problem with that is, how do you implement it? And when do you implement it? Because they'll just keep coming at you with more stuff to learn. But until you take that step to be like, I can't go on that Zoom call, I actually have to make a pre-list package, you'll never do it. And then 3 years will go by, you'll get in production, you'll be like, this is what happened to me. I took 3 years, I didn't have a listing presentation for 3 years. And you got to slow the bus down to be like, okay, I got to make a listing presentation. Take you out of production to slow down to make a listing presentation to go. So it is very important. This class is designed for you to do 32 deals your first year. If you do everything in this class, I guarantee you, I've seen it happen. You will do 32 deals in your class in this class. What I can't guarantee is that you're going to do everything in this class. and it's a direct a result of what you're implementing to your production. Does that make sense? There's a ton of scripts to learn. And it can get overwhelming because we have other jobs, we have family, we have ourself that get in the way, right? So it's very, very important that if you are having problems implementing any of this stuff, that you reach out to myself, to another faculty member, to your mentor, to somebody in leadership in the office to say, hey, I just need help with this, okay? So having said that, and knowing that you don't have a lot of the homework completed, part of this class as well is we take time out to actually do some activities, okay? Have you guys done activities with the other sessions, or has it been more about content delivery?
I would say for us, it's been, content has been mostly the focus because they cut down. Last session, Angela had shared with us that the content is supposed to be about 3 hours long and that they had pared it down to 2, which necessarily has cut out some of the in-classroom activities for us. And the expectation is that we'll do this on our own and ask questions if we have any.
Right. Yeah. So for the essence of time, right? And that's typically what happens because this is a 3 hour a day class. So we've booked 2 hours today. However, we are going to do some in-class activities. But what I've done is I've peeled out the important activities. They're all important, don't get me wrong, but if I was to prioritize them, we're going to do the ones that's going to make the biggest impact in your business right away. Okay? And I want to leave some time so that we have conversations throughout where I'm not the only one doing all the talking. As Jamie Cummings knows, I can talk a lot and I can keep going and going and going and going. So I want to make sure that you guys have the time to ask questions, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be about this session. It can be about the sessions you've had before. But I will want to keep the topics that we talk about pertinent to what this class is all about. Okay. If we start to go on a tangent or go down a rabbit hole, I will bring it back. Is that fair? I also encourage in all of these classes, and we say this in Ignite and any trainings that we do, even with Bold, is how we show up in here is how we show up out there. So I want you to show up and ask questions and interact. That's why I ask for your videos to be on so I can see your faces, and I want you to be engaged. If you're not engaged and I'm just in the background, just shut me off. It's fine. It's okay. There's a recording. You can get the recording. Okay. Because I feel that if you're not engaged, then there he is. Hey, Paul. If you're not engaged, then you just kind of take away from everybody else's opportunity to learn. Cool. Awesome. So with the past sessions that we've taken so far, what were your ahas? What have you learned from it?
That there's quite a process to this, and that if you continuously strive for the process and do those continuous activities, that you will actually see the traction and then ultimately the success from that. But it all starts with making the movement first and don't stop.
Okay, that's great. Awesome, Sherry. What else have you guys learned? Who thinks real estate's easy?
No.
Who thinks it's simple?
No. Oh, sort of. In a way. If you do certain things, then yes, you should see results.
Yeah.
It's not
So
easy.
it's simple, not easy.
Yeah.
Okay? That's like any business. It's like the game of golf. If you think about the game of golf, very, very simple. You take a hole, you put it in there, you take a ball, you put it in a hole in the least amount of strokes. Very simple. Not easy because you got to use a crooked stick to get it there. You got all these things in the way. You got sand and water and trees and wind. You got there's so many variables. So if you think about your business, it's very similar to the game of golf. It is simple, not easy. But it all depends on practice, because how you get good on anything is you practice it. Has anybody mastered anything on here? Have you mastered something yet?
Showing
in
up.
your life? Mastered showing up. Perfect. How many hours did it take you to master that?
It feels like right until this moment.
Right.
Every minute from the time I got my license, a week, 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks ago, and just putting myself accountable to every training I can do every day, and just being present for it.
Perfect.
Because I'm like a squirrel right now. So it's hard to stay focused.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how long does it take for someone to master something? Does anybody know that stat? Charlotte would.
10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to master a slap shot, you take 10,000 hours worth of slap shots.
Yeah.
You want to master a script, it's literally 10,000 hours of practicing a script. There's so many scripts. I haven't mastered any of them, but I practice and I practice and I practice. Same with teaching Ignite. I haven't mastered teaching Ignite, but I've taught it 13 times and I still don't have it mastered.
There's so many scripts. Like which
So
one do
many.
you choose?
Right? And the key is choose the one that resonates with you, that's going to accomplish the results that you're looking for.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah, there's so many of them. And the key thing to also, and that's a whole scripts class that we can do, is not to memorize it. It's to memorize what the intention is
Mhm.
and make it your own, so you don't sound like a robot.
Right.
Wrap your language around it.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to talk about listing presentations today a little bit, and there's some scripts in there, and we're going to look at what Keller Williams is talking about in Ignite, and then I'm going to use some examples that I use. Because you'll see there's a script and then there's a question, which is technically a script, right? If you think about scripts is, we live in a script life. Like everything we do is scripted, right? You go to Starbucks. They actually teach you their script. If you notice, anybody been to Starbucks? Yeah. Have you ever ordered a large coffee at Starbucks? They look at you like you got 10 heads. Large coffee. No. You want a grande macchiato, try to double pump soy milk, whatever? Sure. I'll have one of those, right? So they actually repeat what they want you to, they're teaching you on how to order from them. That's a script. So they're literally teaching you the script because they don't have this large size there, right? So when I go to Starbucks now, I order a tall pike place because I've been told that's how you're supposed to order it. With no room. That means I have no milk in it, no dairy, right? It's go to Tim Hortons, it's like I'll have a large coffee, black, thanks, right? So when you think about your business, everything we're doing is a script. So that's, especially when you're brand new into this business, it's all about scripts. You have scripted emails, scripted questions, scripted conversations. It's all there. So it's very, very important. If you're going to master anything in this business, master that first and foremost. Okay. So I'm going to call up a couple of things. So much stuff open.
Colin, when I'm driving, I'll put my AirPods in so it looks like I'm talking on the phone, but I'll practice scripts while I'm driving.
That's a great idea.
Just talking to myself.
Yeah. Just okay. So does everybody have the student book open? Now I'm going to ask, how do you guys prefer me to go through this? I can do the slide presentation or I can go through the book with you guys. What would you
If
prefer?
I'm
You're,
off,
you're
we're
going
getting
through
lost.
session 4, right?
Yeah, session 4. What's that,
Yeah,
Chelsea?
like the slides have been great, but like everybody's like, well, what page is she on? Like I see everybody chatting in the chat
Okay.
all the time because it's
So
never.
why don't, yeah, I have a book. It's 79 pages long, which I'm sure yours is somewhat of that. And we can go through what the book is. I'll share the screen. I'll share the book screen, like the instructor's guide with you. because it goes along with the student guide. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Okay, because the PowerPoint presentation is just very point form. And then what I'll do is I'll use some examples throughout the book. Okay, so it's easier to follow along. Is that fair? Okay. Okay. It's so funny. I didn't even because I was running late. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm sorry.
We all know who you are. Don't we?
Yeah, not everybody, because there's people on here that I don't know who they are. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to introduce myself to you guys right now. I'm Colin Bradford. I'm the productivity coach for your offices for New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and PEI. And I'm also a productivity coach for a market center in the state of Florida and also in Manitoba. And I also have a corporate side of coaching that I do as well. I've been in real estate for 14 years. I've been with Keller Williams for about 7 of those. I'm a former team leader. I built an office in Toronto of over 250 people. And I have a real estate team in Ontario of 6 people. And I live in New Brunswick. I'm fully leveraged from the day-to-day. I say fully leveraged. However, I'm working on a deal right now. So I can't say I'm fully leveraged anymore. But I try to push as much of my referrals through my team as possible. So I have 3 admin and I've won multiple awards. That's me. Anybody have any questions about who I am, what I do? No, I got into coaching at a necessity. So I built Real Consulting literally when I came out to New Brunswick. But I was started to coach when I was a team leader. I was coaching all the top agents in our office and got my taste of doing that. And I really fell in love with it. And I have a passion for coaching and helping people build businesses. We talk about being a real estate agent, right? And we say we have a business, but if you have to show up every day, you don't have a business. You have a bunch of jobs in real estate. So if you're really interested in building a business, that is what I find is my sweet spot. And I'm the king of leverage. So every time there's an opportunity, I'm like, yeah, let's jump in. First day on the job, how can I leverage this and still make money? Is what goes through my head. So I want to help agents do that as well, because building a real estate business has helped. Leveraging my real estate business has helped me move on to a lot of other things that I love. I've owned 2 franchises. We've built them up, sold those. I've built other businesses as well, built them up, sold them, and I still have. It's been able to allow me to buy income properties, and now I'm looking at other opportunities across North America. So there's a lot of things that real estate, if you could, when you build it, you leverage it, it opens up a whole whack of opportunities for you. Okay. And the reason why I'm with Keller Williams is because that platform of Keller Williams makes it the most advantageous to do what I do. There's no other company on the planet that supports the goals that I have the way that Keller Williams does. Okay. It's not a Keller Williams pitch. It's, I'm loyal, but at the end of the day, I'm loyal to the best company that's going to provide me the most opportunity. And KW does that for me. So yes, Charlotte.
I've always wanted to know, what does REAL stand for?
So REAL is an acronym for real life achievements. Was it RE? So real life entrepreneurial achievement and leadership.
Okay.
So we teach, or we coach on all those things plus others, but those are the 3 things that kind of really make my coaching programs different than others, because I feel that there's a huge real life element to all of it. I believe we only have one life, and what happens at work affects our personal life, and what happens in our personal life affects our work life, especially in real estate. Because there's days where you don't want to get out of bed. That's real life, right? There's experiences that we have that we can bring from our past to our business today. There's achievements, because we're always wanting to achieve great things, and and also leadership, the L for leadership. I have had a lot of shitty leaders in my life, and I feel that it's my job on this planet to help create great leaders. Okay. And for every great leader was a good leader, and for every good leader, they used to be a bad leader. So I'm kind of like, I consider myself in the middle of good. I'm working towards being great, but not there yet. Haven't mastered it yet. Haven't put the 10,000 hours in. Cool. Any questions? Awesome. That was a little commercial for Colin. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So today we're going to talk about win with sellers. We're going to practice the listing presentations and lead to signing the listing agreement. Okay. It's a 3-hour class. We're going to be doing our daily reports and daily calls. So today, does everybody have a list of people to call today? Yeah, because I want to do the 20 minutes of the calls, because that's going to be super powerful. And then you can report back. Okay.
So we're actually going to go make our calls and then report back this morning. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So here's your mission. Okay, this is the mission review. So this is based on what was the expectation of last class to be completed for this class, was to talk about your 10-4. So have you guys talked about 10-4s before, what they are? Can you guys come off mute and tell me that you've completed them or haven't completed them?
I
Working on it.
haven't completed them, but they're on my whiteboard.
Okay. So
They're
how
not
many
mine.
contacts would you have added?
Who, me?
Mhm.
I haven't added any. That's my problem. I haven't written a single letter in my database, which is on my plan for this week.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Anybody else who's done it, who hasn't done it?
I've added more than 10. I've added 20 people to call this week.
Okay. Have you added them to your database yet?
Yes, they're in my database.
Okay.
So is that the 10 contacts? I don't even know what all of them are. 10 contacts.
10 contacts added, 10 connections. So whether that is either a phone call, a face-to-face, an email, a social media interaction, but it's a connection where there's a two-way conversation going on. Okay. 10 notes is another one, 10 handwritten notes, and 10 homes previewed.
And Colin,
Yeah.
those 10 connections, are those just with clients, or are those, can you also include allied partners in that?
Allied partners.
Okay, because I got thinking, I was out the other night and I was talking with a woman who works at an insurance company, and she and I have just connected on Facebook. And I'm like, right, that's good. That's a great connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And anybody that doesn't know what an allied partner is, it's somebody that is in an industry that helps you with your business, that complements your business. So an example would be a mortgage broker, a lawyer, an insurance person, financial advisors, inspector, stager. The list is on and on and on. I do encourage you to build your team and have those allied partners, because when we're building our listing presentation, they're going to be included into it. Because even though they're not on your payroll, they're still part of your team. Okay. And it's very, very important also to include the people in your office, your leadership group, right? Like Melissa, your broker team in Nova Scotia, Austin in New Brunswick, Amanda from New Brunswick, like our MCAs, because those people touch the transaction along the way. Even your frontline people, the ones that are answering the phones to your clients, they're still part of your team because they're representing you and you're representing them. So it's very important. Now, I'm not saying have lunch with those people, but the allied partner side of it, yeah, send them a note, send them a thank you. I have a question, because also part of the notes I always include, and I would give you a buy on it, but who has recently or ever sent their MCA a note saying thank you? who has sent their
What is
director of
that?
first impressions. Right.
Yep.
First thing, let's figure out who the MCA is, right? They run the back, right? Who's your broker team? Do they deserve a no? Like, because what happens is when you have that group of people on your side, it just makes their life that much easier.
Yep.
Right?
I always give Laura a gift. She's our first impressions or director of operations. I always give her a gift at least once a year and several thank you notes during the year because, well, she saves my ass all the time.
All the
But
time. But we don't realize that they're actually working for us.
yeah,
Right.
they're the ones that are completing the back sides of our deals to make sure that we look good to the clients, right? That our paperwork's getting through to the lawyers, all that stuff. So they're really important, and I like never take them for granted. And so, you know, I gift and thank all the time to those guys.
Right. Cool. So those of you that haven't done it or completed this week, my question is what got in the way? What happened? And this is an opportunity. We're in a safe place here. There's no judgment. Be vulnerable. I know we don't know a lot of each other right now, but trust me, you're not the only one that has felt this way, or that something got in the way, or that you're feeling overwhelmed. And so, you know, what got in the way this week as to why you couldn't do it?
Some of what you're saying already is part of that, Colin. So feeling overwhelmed, there's a lot to know. You heard on an earlier call with me that I got a listing before I actually got I didn't get a listing. I had a meeting for a listing before I had my license. So got my license and then suddenly had to figure out how to do a pre-listing presentation. And my focus was jettisoned forward to how do I do a pre-listing presentation? How do I use command design? How do I input a contact into command? And it's been really focused on making sure I literally don't drop the ball on this client. And it has been a lot to absorb, and then trying to go to the training sessions and focusing on that. So I pour myself into bed each night. My brain is full, and this literally was not making the cut. I can say by the end of last week, it felt like the clouds had parted, and I'm starting to get a better handle on it. So I know that that's my focus this week, but it was not last week.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Sherry, for sharing that. Anybody else feel the way Sherry's feeling?
Yeah, so like for me, for example, I guess I either missed something or did not understand what the heck we were doing with Ignite until today when you explained it. And it's like, well, that actually makes sense. And what happened was, I think it was session 2 that has all the e-edge that doesn't work, all the videos, because it doesn't exist no more. But in there's other things that it said to have set up before class. And I was getting help from somebody else, and they said, you shouldn't worry about that. And I said, but that's what Ignite wanted us to do before the class. Yeah, but you shouldn't worry about that. So then I had a confusion. That was on session 2. So session 3, I was just kind of like, I didn't review it. And then now in session 4, I'm hearing the opposite from you. So there's definitely a misconnection with this. And so now I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go backtrack everything.
Now what do I do? Right. And so here's the thing. And I deal with this in coaching all the time with a lot of my clients is, who do I listen to? Because I've got leadership telling me this. There's a ton of other agents that are successful and they're doing this, right? I should be doing that. Oh, Facebook ads? Yeah, I should do Facebook ads. Do you know how to do a Facebook ad? You're going to spend money on something you have no idea what to do yet, or even what script to use after you get the appointment? It's like going on the Autobahn with the Lamborghini with no seatbelt or any tire. Like you're just driving full tilt recklessly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Will you potentially do a deal? For sure. But at the same time, too, you have more chances of causing an accident and hurting yourself or other people if you're not under control. Does that make sense? So do they have valid points? 100%. But do they know where you are? No, absolutely not. So this is where I'm not here to preach and to say don't listen to anybody else. Yes, 100%. But take the nuggets out, digest it, but don't necessarily run in that direction until you've thought about it, sorted it out, applied it to where you are today. right? There's so many agents, and Sherry, you're a prime example of it, where they get into the business, they get in production fast. So you start from step 1 and go to step 7 like that, but they forgot step 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now they got to go all the way back to step 2 and then implement 3, 4, 5, whatever. So there is a process to this. And you know, I'm a slow learner, so it took me actually 4 years to build a business, but you will get the results that you're looking for if you focus on the activities. It's going to, like, these types of things, the 10 contacts added, the 10 connections. If you only did that for a month, you'd have a very successful business.
This sheet that you're looking at here, the 1 to 4, is that per week, right?
Yeah, per week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Colin, I
Okay.
think where I am is, I mean, everybody's in different positions, but just to kind of put it out there, is, yeah, like I'm getting some calls for different things, but I'm writing my bio. I don't even have my legal name yet. Like, my pictures are in the 7th. So it
That's
is
okay.
about putting those contacts in and doing what you can now, but because of attention to detail, not getting stuck in that is the point of this, right? Not getting stuck in doing thing first, second, third.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you just got to do it and just do it. So that's where I am.
Yeah, and this is where the conversation goes, is based on your personality type, because we all have different personalities, right? So there's some people that won't have a conversation until they feel comfortable with the script. They don't like the feeling of it being clunky, or they need to have their business card perfect before they can hand it out, right? And not that it gets in the way, but if that's a mental priority, do it first, because it's only going to help you succeed on all the other things, if that's your personality type. So one of the things that I've learned as well, does anybody know Daniel Locke? He's a big investor, like probably he's a good mentor of mine, and you know, he's an investor. He built his business in real estate and investing, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, he's also helps people with their wealth, building wealth. And one of the things he says, and we've listened to it on TV, on the HGTV shows and all that stuff, paying off debt, where it's like, what do they always tell you? Pay off debt with the highest interest first.
Not unless you listen to Dave Ramsey.
Right. What does he say? What does Dave Ramsey say?
Pay off the one that you're going to pay off quickest. So like if you have a $250 Visa, pay it off. Roll that into the next one that's 1,000. Roll that into the next one that's 10,000. Roll that into
right. So you get missed messages. What resonated with me, and I'm going to throw another one at you, is pay off the one that creates the most stress for you, because then everything else becomes easier. So pay that one off first, because psychologically you're in a better position. You're more confident to move forward. I'm going to say that to your business. If you can't operate because of the way you feel mentally, because you don't have a website set up, focus on the website, get it done, but get it done fast. Okay. And accurate. So this stuff here with your database, these are revenue generating activities. These are the brass tacks of real estate, of any business. So everything else doesn't matter if you're not doing this stuff. You don't need a listing presentation if you're not talking to people. You don't need to learn a script if you're not talking to people. You don't need a website if you're not talking to people, because no one's going to it, right? So, and your website, in my opinion, and your marketing, your website is only as good as the marketing driving to it. No one's sitting on Google right now looking for you. That's what happens. But do you need a website for when you have the conversation to say, yeah, you know what, check out my website? I do it all the time. And actually, I use that as a lead capture for me. So for instance, when I post a training calendar, just so everybody knows, you sign up for a class, I get all your information as soon as you sign up. And I get an email every time someone signs up for a course. Boom, you're in my database. So if you're lead gen, and that's part of my lead gen model, we were talking about that before, like it's a system. and then I put them on a campaign, and then they get drips on my blog, on emails that I'm going to send out, on more training coming up, all that kind of stuff. But it's only as good as this. So I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole right now. So you guys got to pull me back sometimes. Okay. So I want you to, if you don't have a list of people, because right now what I want you to do is I want you to start calling people for about 20 minutes. I'll time it. The goal is to ask for business or ask for an appointment. Okay. I want you to spend 20 minutes in talking to them. If you can't get that appointment, I want you to ask them for a referral. If you can't get that, does everybody have their mobile app set up? And if not, that's okay. You don't need to send it out yet. It's fine. But you can offer it and say, hey, yeah, we have a search engine. I have my own app. I'll have it sent to you shortly. Okay. And there are scripts from sessions 1 to 3 that you can use to call. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody struggle with the scripts? They want me to run through some stuff with them right now?
I think my question is like, I do have a list of people to call, but in terms of doing like meetings or like trying to get an appointment, I guess I find a lot of people are kind of not interested in like appointments at the moment. Like I am working with people like virtually, even though we're in the same city. So like the last like few people I'm working with, I'll call them and I'll say, like I'm going to connect us via, email or whatever, so that we can contact each other and we can discuss what you're looking for and blah, blah, blah. And I find that works okay, but I guess I'm just wary of asking them, hey, would you like to meet? Because I don't want to make them back away, be like, oh, I don't want to meet. Like, I don't know.
I've got multiple people set up in Paragon, and then I'm searching for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, as far as meetings, no.
I have an idea, Rachel. The clients that you've been working with and that you have a good working relationship with, maybe the call to them today is to say, we've been doing really well. We're, having a good time finding you a house. But today I'm wondering if you can put any thought into who you might know might need my services as well, whether it's for buying or selling or investing. And so maybe that's the conversation you have with them.
The list of people that I have to call today is actually like all new leads. Should I focus on that? Because I need to call them because they got their info this weekend.
Sure.
Is that allowed?
Where did you pick them up?
Off my Facebook.
Where did you get them?
Off my Facebook.
Okay. So contacting them, you may not want to set up a meeting, right? Like, so the objective is to lead it to that. But right now what you're doing is you're qualifying them to get to an appointment.
Okay. I just want to make sure that was still like a viable solution for today.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because especially with Facebook ads and online leads, which is a whole other session, right? Like, it's because when you're dealing with an online lead, they're like little babies. They need a lot of hand holding and tender love and care, and right. And they need to be dripped on consistently, because how they found you was click, 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 click. They come in and they go just as fast. Right. So practice with it. It's okay. But the intention is let's qualify them. And maybe even ask, say, so would you be open to having if you get the question would be, hi, thanks for visiting my website. My name's Rachel. I wanted to call and reach out to you and see if there's anything that I can do to help serve you. I see that you're looking for real estate. How long have you been looking?
So,
how have you been looking?
Yeah, so the script that I kind of have been using that has been like, working for me is just ask, blah, 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 it's Rachel. I got your information that you had put in from the Facebook advertisement. And, I wanted to know if you were still interested in discussing like, buying home in HRM, because that's kind of what my thing said. And then if like a lot of them will say like, yes, but can you call me back later? And then like, then we'll talk about it. And then I'm like, I kind of from there ask, what are you looking for? How long have you been looking? Like, are you thinking,
as soon as they say, yes, I do, boom. Now you have an appointment now you have an opportunity to set the appointment.
Okay.
Awesome. well, can you talk to me later? For sure. What time Friday at 4 works best for you?
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
Friday
so I
at
feel
4.
like I am on the right track. I won't take anybody's time up then.
No, but we're all learning, right? And
Okay.
because I guarantee you that there's other people on this call that want to know and are self-conscious of even asking for that
I love
appointment.
hearing
But
that,
as soon as they
Rachel.
say yes,
Great. Awesome, Rachel. I like
Yeah, that's
hearing the
great.
conversations because we can learn.
yeah. As soon as they say yes, that's your opportunity. That's your invitation to be like, great, I have time at Tuesday at 4 p.m. Does that work for you?
Okay.
Or is Wednesday at 9 better?
Okay,
I always give them an option. I don't.
What time is best of day, or like, is later today good, or would you like me to contact you tomorrow? Like,
Yeah, I don't let it loosey goosey like that.
okay,
I
so
give them an option.
11? Okay.
Yeah, because that's a commitment. I give them like, here's this one or that one.
Okay.
You pick which one works better.
Either or
Okay.
questions, always either or, so that it has to choose one or the other.
Yeah, I
Morning,
always joke.
morning, afternoon, Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, I always joke too. I always say, what time Friday at 4 works best for you? And they look at me like, what? I'm like, okay, Friday at 4. Awesome. I write it down, Friday at 4. So yeah, okay, so we're gonna start 20 minutes. I'm gonna put you on mute. If you get somebody on the phone, unmute yourself so we can all hear if you don't mind. I don't know.
What if we all unmute at the same time?
Just turn your volume down so you're not hearing everybody. But
Who's gonna hear it? Just you.
okay, ready, go. How's it going? Everybody good? 5 more minutes.
That was not 20 minutes.
No, you got 5 more minutes.
Sorry, I'd left the room to do my, calls.
No problem.
Yeah, so I didn't have success actually reaching a potential client, but I did have a little success reaching a potential partner. So yeah, so I'm setting up a coffee date for that. Yeah, so yay. And in the midst of that, I got a call back from a basement repair company to help out the client that I'm working with. So
Nice.
yay. So Colin, while I've got you then, I'll just ask, I had a kind of a coffee date last week with a potential lawyer to use for the business, and kind of explained to him, kind of like online dating for business. I explained to him how I felt the relationship would work best. He explained how he felt the relationship would work best. We came to a mutual understanding of how this would work for the both of us. And now I'm going to start using him. So when I first kicked off with some of this stuff, I was told that it's best not to give one name, that it's best to give like a corral of potential people, and the client just picks who they like, 3, right? So I don't have 2 other lawyers yet, but I am asking, like, I literally one client. So I had asked this client, do you have a lawyer, somebody that you trust that you want to use? And it was no. If you have somebody, I can call them. I said, I do have one person that came highly recommended. I'm getting together with him for coffee. Let me give you some feedback once I do that. And then if you decide to use him, then you give me feedback on how that interaction went with you. And then we will base our decision together on whether or not to use him for the sale of your house.
Sure. So the reason why, no, that's great. The reason why we offer 3 names, that's for protection of us, right? We can't have favorites in real estate.
Right.
So your office has lawyers, and other agents have lawyers in your office that you can refer to as well. Like you can, and how to position it to be. So this, here are the 3 lawyers that our office uses. I've used this particular one, or I've actually met with this one. The other 2, you know, it's always good to get a second opinion or a third opinion, just so there's options. There you go. So you're protecting yourself by still offering those 3, but you're also, you know, and that lawyer knows that, you know, just like real estate agents, there's a ton of us out there, so they know they're gonna be up against competing lawyers, and so you and also for your business too, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket either. So I have 3 lawyers that I use, and 3 in New Brunswick as well that I refer to, and the ones in New Brunswick, they stopped taking clients. They're like, I'm done. He goes, I don't need any. I can't keep up with what I have.
Wow.
I'm coaching him on leverage, but also it's if we all have a capacity, right? So having the arsenal of, and personalities too, if they don't match, it's good to have the option. So
that is actually an excellent point, because there could be some really amazing people, but if they're, you know, high D and my client isn't, then that could be, they could feel a little bit bullied, where the lawyer's just being really direct.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
No problem.
Are we done or are we still going?
One more minute.
Oh, okay.
Can you make one more call? Oh, well, wait.
Well, both of my
You
calls
guys were talking so much, I assumed we were done.
Should I make another call?
One more. Yeah. Okay, if you guys are done, I think Paul's still on the phone. So when I think if you're done, put your hand up so I can see that you're done. Okay. I think Paul has this turned off anyway, so I'll keep talking. So how'd it go? Be honest.
Good.
Good. Okay.
Good.
I didn't
Dennis,
get
tell me-
anywhere.
tell
I
me
had
what
one
was-
good conversation. The
Yeah.
rest were messages. So I only had one conversation. He's 89 years old, Roy. He's my neighbor up the road. I asked him if he wanted to sell his house. I said, "You thinking about selling?" And he goes, "Nope, they're going to take me out of here feet first."
Yeah.
So
So
I asked him, I told him what was going on with my dog business and that I'm selling real estate now. And would he consider giving me referrals to build my new business? And he said, absolutely.
Perfect.
So, but he didn't have anybody he knew right now.
That's okay. When I first got into business, I was sitting beside, we were all part of this calling group. Every morning we'd sit and call, and this guy was brilliant with his scripts and stuff. And he had a guy saying, "They're going to have to carry me out in a casket," was on the phone. And he legit said, sorry, this one. He legit said, "I'm not in the business of selling caskets, but when you're ready, but who are the estate holders of your property?" And he just went on and on and on, right? And he was able to build a rapport with that guy. Now, I don't know if he ever got the listing or whatnot, but it was just, he had fun with it. And it was just like, yeah, I'm not in the business of selling caskets, but and they were both laughing at the same time. I'm like, did you actually say
Yeah,
that?
Roy and I were laughing too. It was a good conversation, right?
Yeah, that's good.
So it was
good.
fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dennis,
Colin,
what was the
Colin, can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
Mike.
Good. Yeah, I wanted to say, I was calling a neighborhood one time for one of my clients, and it was all one neighborhood, and it was about 40 years old in there. Anyway, everyone I phoned up either said they built the houses or they moved in there 2 or 3 years after the houses were built, so they've been there forever, and they're going to have to be carried out in a pine box, and it was killing me every time. And after a bit, I kind of clued in, and I thought, okay, I got him. And I started my phone calls up, and I said, "Hi, it's Mike Arthur." It wasn't Keller Williams at the time, but real estate. And I said, "I'm selling pine boxes."
Yeah.
They'd start laughing and say, "What?" And
Yeah,
all of a
right.
sudden we had a great rapport, and the conversation went.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome. Great story. Thanks, Mike, for sharing that. And that's the intention, right? We get so intense and so serious about this. They're people. They want to hear from you, right? If you make it fun and make it humorous, they start to lower the barriers and the objections start to be less and less and less. I always say, listen, at the end of the day, I don't care when you sell your house. It could be tomorrow, could be in a year, could be in 10 years. I don't care. What I do care about is when you do sell, that you call me. All right? And if you're okay with me keeping in touch with you regularly, awesome. I'd love to do that. Paul, that's funny. Every call is a cold call. Your mom didn't expect you to call when you did. That's right. Awesome. So do not disturb. What did you guys learn from it, from this exercise?
So for me, I don't know if I'm gonna probably skip a little bit of this one, but so if you were asking why I put the thumbs down, so like
Yeah.
a lot of it, everybody that I knew that's on there, I'm like, well, they're at work, they're not gonna answer the phone, right? I just know when to call them. It's just not a good time at this time to call the people that I was gonna call. I tried a couple, and it was more just family members that I already knew I was in the business. But I did have one over the weekend when we met with our mentor. She gave us or gave me gave you a lead. So I called the lead, and I actually do better with people I have no idea who they are versus my family or friends, right? So with them, I called them up. It was great. He's like, who's this? So I told him who I was, where I worked for, how I got the name and number, and just asked if he was still interested. And he said, yes. And I said, well, if you have a minute, I said, let's talk. I said, maybe I can send you off some information and get you on the email list or a mailing list, and it'll keep updating and you can play with it and everything else. So he's like, okay. So we got talking, and during that, he wants us to, he has a semi-detached in Ontario or Toronto. He's hoping to get that here or a detached, fully detached. I'm like, yeah, we can definitely do that for the price range. So his price range was 700. And I said, yeah, I can get you that, no problem, within the HRM. And as we got talking, I found out he was Filipino. And with him being Filipino, I know 4 words. So I threw him right off with that one. Yeah. And then he was asking questions about the area. So what I did is I made I did everything. So I had to figure out Paragon. So I went into Paragon, did that, called my mentor, said, walk me through that one more time. So she walked me through that, sent that off, and then followed up with an email just to make sure it wasn't junk, or with a phone text message. So it wasn't junk. With that text message, I also sent the Nova Scotia government site for to plan a trip. I said, here's what Nova Scotia has to offer as well if you want to take a look at this. So I gave him a little bit extra. So
that's awesome.
Good, but
brilliant. Congrats. And one of the key things there is you connected with them with things outside of real estate. Yeah. That's the magic. Yeah. When you have something in common with somebody, or you know a little bit about their culture or their history, or locked, right? So awesome. Congrats. That's amazing. So we're going to plow through the rest of the content, but I do want to leave it open. So as we're going through the content, just by all means, interrupt, unmute yourself. Let's talk. I'll use some examples. If you want more examples, just let me know. I'm going to do the best I can to get through all the content because it is pretty heavy. The stuff that is repetitive, you'll see I'm just going to fly through it fairly quickly. But if you need me to go back, by all means, okay? So I'm going to share my screen again. So as we did the calls, and Joanna, I'm going to call you out for a minute, because now that you've had that call with him, great opportunity to write him a note. To say, hey, just to remind him, because he's not going to get the note for 2 or 3 days after.
I was also thinking, since he said he wasn't going to sell, I also know his son and his daughter-in-law down the road really well. So I was thinking about talking to them.
For sure. I just talked to your dad, blah, blah, blah. We had a good call. But make sure that you write that guy a personal handwritten note to say, it was such a nice chat with you. Thank you so much. Here's a couple of my business cards so that when you're talking to people, I'd love the referral. Just a little reminder. I always include 2 business cards in my note, one for them and one for them to give away. Okay. You can do the notes on your own. There are some scripts as to what to write in the notes. I, again, don't write it word for word, write it from your heart. Okay. Talks about getting your head in the game. So now that, let's just say you guys landed an appointment, like Dennis, for instance, this guy could turn into an appointment. We're going to focus this particular case on listing. So if he's looking to buy, no problem. But if you had a listing appointment, now you got the listing appointment. It's like, okay, crap. Now what? Right. So now we have the lead. You'll see the funnel. It turns into an appointment. Then we move it to the agreements and we sign contracts, and then you get paid on closing day. So now that you have the appointment booked, say it's Thursday, typically what realtors do is they provide what they call a pre-listing package, and then there's a listing presentation. I know a number of realtors that have just one. It's a listing presentation, then they just send it. We only, in my company, we only have one. We used to have a pre-list package. And what the pre-list package is, it's to help qualify the buyer and get you information so that when you show up at your appointment, you come, fully armed with all their needs and wants, typically. You know their motivation. They know a little bit about you. So I do recommend, especially being new in the business, is to build a pre-list package. A listing presentation can be overwhelming, and I'm going to show you a copy of mine, and I'll give you an example of it. And I don't ever talk about it. I just leave it for them to go through when I'm not there. Okay. So with the pre-list package, we're going to talk about what needs to be in it. So like I said, we're going to focus on listings. And why we focus on listings is listings provide more exposure. They advertise your listings and they get the name out in a big way. Listings to bring the buyers. So even when a buyer does not choose the property, they may be interested in other properties that you have access to or other properties you have listed. And listings are time leveraged. So on average, you can close 2 to 3 seller listings to every one buyer. So if you look at the time required to list a house versus a buyer's needs of showing them a whole whack of houses, listings are key. So in the MREA book that Gary Keller wrote, it talks about the triangle, right? And it's leads, listings, and leverage, right? That's the triangle. So if you can intentionally go after listing leads and convert them, it will create leverage. And right now, especially in a market like today, listings are gold. If you get a listing, you're going to have 20 buyers, so now being new in the business, it's like, shit, what do I do? Or how do I get listings? Where are they? How are they going to trust me? I'm brand new. That's all self-talk, right? It's like, so, and that's where we want to arm ourselves and show up with the pre-list package, but show up with information that's going to help you close that appointment. So making it happen with the pre-list package and a high impact listing presentation, you're going to pre-qualify the sellers and understand motivation. You're going to position yourself as an expert, and you're going to potentially win the listing. You'll have a better chance of winning the listing when you have that form of professionalism than you would if you didn't. Allow you to price the home to sell for an amount of money in the shortest period of time. And you want to properly set seller expectations, allowing you to get a better customer service experience. So if anybody's done research on my company or my team, our slogan is the experience is everything. So we are big on your customer experience. We say the experience is everything because it is, in my opinion, good and bad. People talk about you when they have a great experience. People talk about you when they have a bad experience. So we feel it's everything. So we put a lot of money into our customer experience, but we get really, really clear on expectations with our clients as well. So we want to pre-qualify the seller. Okay. And how to do that is we ask them a number of questions. So in our books, you should see this sheet. And this is a good sheet to bring with you or have with you when you're on the phone as a quick reference. Okay. And you can literally go through the questions as you're on the phone and write it down as they're answering. So first question is, how'd you hear about me? Yeah, Rachel, I was on Facebook and I saw your ad. Boom. Great. So can I ask you, where are you moving to? Well, I'm not sure yet. Okay. And they always ask a follow-up question to some of these, which is, if you were to move anywhere, where would it be? Now I'm digging a little bit deeper. What is motivating you to move there? Okay. Now, some people might be, well, it's a good time to sell from what I understand. Sure it is. But is it just money? Or what is the long-term plan? So I always find out what that is, right? Maybe they're empty nesting and they're downsizing. Maybe their house is too big. Maybe there's someone sick. Maybe they got divorced. Maybe that all these things play into motivation. Okay. How soon do you have to be there? So I don't ask that question. I always ask, so if you were to imagine yourself living there, when would that be? It's a little bit gentler, but I've reframed it because they're like, well, I don't have to be there at any time. But ideally, when would you want that to happen? Right? It's a little bit gentler.
Can you repeat that again?
Ideally, when would you want to be in your new property or in that location? Okay. If you were to sell your home in the next 30 days, what will that pose a problem for you? And if yes, what would that problem be? You'd be like, well, crap, yeah, it's a big problem because I have nowhere to live if I sell it in 30 days, right? So, and that's where, again, another conversation can get sparked from that question. Yeah, you know what? Listings sell fairly quickly, and it's tough to find a place to go. But there's a lot of properties right now that sell that don't even make it on the market, and it's my job to help you do that. And I'd never want you to be homeless. So why don't we start the process? I'll send you some listings, right? I'll send you some properties, see what your money can get you, and when we can at least have an idea, we can put your house on the market. That's a very current, like a very relative or accurate conversation of how things are going today in today's market. Okay. What would happen if we didn't sell your home? Right. So we go there. And those of you that were on the masterclass in the coaching program when we did the Chris Voss videos, he talks about this particular question. What is the loss if you don't sell? Like he talks about it, like when you're negotiating, what is the loss if you don't do this? What's the ramifications? Okay. How much would you want to?
Great question, Colin. Sorry, that just hit me like a ton of bricks. That is fantastic. Yeah, sorry. Keep going.
No,
I just
okay.
kind of went.
Yeah, right. What happens if you don't sell it? Well, I potentially could lose it. Right. How much would you want to list your home for? I ask this question all the time. And the reason why I ask is to see if we're on the same page. And they always tell me, well, you're the professional. You tell me what it's worth. I'm like, no. How much would you pay for your own house? Because if
Colin,
it's,
I have a question. So in this situation, I mean, in this market now, everyone thinks their home's $1 million. So if they come up with an unrealistic price point and it's unrealistic, I mean, what do you do there? What's the best?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Because it does happen 100%, right? It's like, yeah, my house is worth $5 million. No, it's worth 200 grand. Sorry. So one of the things I ask is, tell me why. Tell me why you feel it's that way. No judgment, like whatever. Tell me why. And then what they'll do is they'll be like, well, the market is this, and people, my friends told me I should be able to get this. Okay, great. Awesome. So based on what we do is we bring market value. And that's where I go into, our job is to show you what market value is. Will somebody pay that? Maybe, but I can't guarantee it. Maybe, right? And we call it the someday price. Someday it'll sell for that. Which may not be today. Someday though. So I always ask them after when they tell me that it's unrealistic, or I feel it's unrealistic, I always ask them to justify it. Tell me why. Who told you that it was worth this? I've also had agents. They tell me, well, I had another agent in here the other day and told me it was worth this. They could sell it for this. And I'm like, awesome. I said, just so you know, us agents we have access to all the same information. And I'm actually curious to find where they feel that this house or your house is worth that. You know, I'm not here to demean your property, but I want to have the difficult conversation or the realistic conversation now, as opposed to 3 months from now when we're doing price cuts because it hasn't closed, it hasn't sold yet. So, you know, I'm obviously would work to sell it for the most amount of money, but I'm very realistic too. And there's going to be some listings, Jane, that you're going to be like, yeah, you know what? I don't need to take this one because it's your reputation. And I also tell them too, that I said, there's agents out in the market that will tell you your house is worth more just so that they can get the listing, because we actually get more business from the listings we have. Because we get other listings, we get other buyers, and we use them. And there's agents out there that will use your property to get other buyers to sell them other properties. The intention is to sell your house, right? So there's a whole conversation that really goes around that. Does that answer your question? Does that help? Awesome. The other thing I also asked them to do too, especially if that's the case, if there's other listings for sale in their area, I book appointments and I take them on the showing. I'm like, listen, Mr. Seller, let's go compare your house to this house that is a little bit listed for more. And I want you to walk through it and take a look at it, because we're going to compare your house to it. I've done that. Because what that does, it puts the perspective of a buyer on their mind. Now they'll walk in and say, yeah, my house is better. You know, the wind comes in from this window for me. They don't have the same wind current and all that. Like, it's just random crap that they're trying to value, right? But when you bring it into real life and you get them in that environment, it's like, okay, would you pay 1.2 for this house? But you expect people to pay 1.2 for your house. Okay. Then I'm like, I make the choice then at that point. I'm like, is this worth my time? Or do I move on to the next one, right? And I've actually gotten listings because of my honesty, not because I've inflated the purchase price or the potential sale price. They're like calling, like, yeah, so-and-so said it was going to be more money, but we actually, we value your honesty. So if we can get that money, like if we can get what you say we're going to sell it for, I'm like, listen, we may even get more, but I don't want you to go into this thinking you're going to get this and we end up here. I want to under promise, over deliver always. Okay. We ask how much you owe on the property. Typically that's when they have a buy, right? At the end of the day. And also if they're in financial trouble that they need to sell it quickly, because then that'll also help dictate price for motivation. I'll be sending a packet of information. Will you take a few minutes to review it before we meet? That's your pre-list package. Do you have any questions? And super key question, will all the decision makers be there when we're meeting? The intention of your listing appointment is to get the listing, to sign the contract. If you have to go back because the husband wasn't there or the wife wasn't there, now you're setting yourself up for the hamster wheel again. Okay. So when you can set it up to be like, okay, so Tuesday at 4, is everybody going to be there? Because if not, well, let's make it Wednesday at 5. Will everybody be there? Or when can everybody be there? Like, and let's carve that out right now before we move to the next stage. You do not need to chase people. If they're motivated sellers, they will sell. Okay. And then just clarify the time. Okay. Just so you know, our meeting will be taking an hour and 30 minutes. Okay. And I look forward to meeting with you on April 7th at your house, whatever, right? So that's the script, but make this part your own. Okay. So the pre-listing package is pre-listing materials. They're designed to help have the sellers build confidence in who you are. It answers questions to some of their objections So some pre-listing presentations, one of the things you might want to include, I don't think it's in here, but you might want to include it, or here are the top 5 things sellers need to consider when picking their realtor. Right? Because then you're setting them up to ask you those questions to pick your realtor. So you already know the answers. So when you can show them, some questions to ask realtors, even though you may not be in competition, they're going to ask you the questions that you just asked them to ask. Does that make sense? And you already have the answers. So it also saves time at the listing presentation, so you don't have to go through every step of the process. Okay. So creating a strong package will make the consultation experience smoother and probably shorter. I've had people spend 3 hours on a listing presentation. I don't know why. Your listing presentation, when you get really, really good at it, should be no more than 45 minutes. But you got to get really, really good at it.
I'm gonna say, Colin, I did like a marathon event on my pre-listing package. And I'll say this with confidence, I was so grateful for the package, for my client, but mostly for me, because I didn't know what I didn't know going into it. And it helped keep me focused during the presentation to what I needed the client to hear from me to make sure that I was doing my due diligence in sharing information. It helped a lot. It kept me really on point. It was still long, but it kept me on point.
I kept you on point, right? So, but what will happen is the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, the faster you'll be, because you'll be like, and on certain personality types that you're working with, you'll know, I need to talk about this, or this D personality doesn't care. So I'm going to skip this whole section, right? When I first got in this business, I sold my best friend's house, and I went through my listing package, my presentation page, it was 80 pages long. And my friend Joe, he's sitting there like this. He's like, dude, stop. Like, you're killing me right now. And I said to him, I'm like, Joey, this is not for you. This is actually for me to practice. So sit with me for 2 hours. And he's just like, oh my God, can we have a beer right now? So, so practice on the people that you love, and that, because it's going to get clunky, but you'll start to learn the more and more you do it, what to keep in, what to take out. So now I talk about it and I say to them, so everything I just said is in this book. Have a good day. Like, here you go. Take a look at it when I'm not around. Or I'll mail it to them. I'll send it to them by courier. Everyone loves getting stuff from the courier. Everyone loves Amazon packages. Imagine your listing, your buyer's guide or your seller's guide showing up by a courier to their house before your appointment. Huge brownie points. And say everything with a little handwritten note saying, everything we're going to discuss is in this book. I'll see you Tuesday at 4. Right?
And I think it's also time in where some of us might be in a team, some of us might not be in a team. I know whenever I start something new, the package, whatever I'm bringing, is huge and long. And by the end of it, I'm in a few years and I'm like, okay, you need these 5 sheets and they all stay the same. So it's a system, except for we're going to change a couple things out based upon the specific client and what they're looking at. And so to have something that we know is boom, this is it. And then we just change out a couple things. That's what I'm looking forward to. So where would you say that we start with that? If we don't have a team, if we don't have a person, like I've already talked to my mentor, obviously she's been around for a long time, great thing. She has her own product. She does her own, spends quite a bit every month on advertising. And so where do I go first to get to save that time? Do you know what I'm saying?
To build your presentation? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So Command does have templates, so you can go on and there's templates like this one. I'm going to share you mine. There are some samples if you're in the coaching program, which I think you are. We have samples of them, and literally you just cut and paste them. So yeah,
awesome.
it's
good.
It's more about making it your own. The content is the same, and you'll see even the one that I use. All the content is the stuff from Keller Williams. It's all the same stuff. I just branded it mine, and it's not even fancy branding. Like, you look at Chelsea's branding. Chelsea's branding blows mine out of the water, right? but that's the clientele she's going for. So, and even people that are on my team, I get them to, they brand within my brand. I'm like, whatever, they're the face of it. So it's more about that conversation, that connection. Here's the content we're going to talk about. Because high C personalities, people that are meticulous, they want to know everything in the process. They need this stuff. They need to see the steps, the 16-step marketing step program that you offer. They need to see all 16 steps. And it's in
My
them.
listing package looks like the pre-listing package.
Perfect. Yeah. And you'll see when we go into the listing package, there's a lot of duplicate information there. It's just the listing package is more in depth. There's a lot of it, right? Because the listing package, well, we're going to go through it right now, the pre-list package. And that's why I've combined the two into one. And I just send the listing guide out of the gate. But you're going to do what works best for you. So here it's all about the sellers. Okay. So the first page, again, you got to customize the front because it's very basic. Mine is super basic too, but I use the template to show you guys. So it's a guide to selling your home. It's going to be all about you. So you want to do your bio. You want to introduce who you are on the first page. Keller Williams is a great company because they want their realtors to be first, right? It's you, then Keller Williams. A lot of other companies it's us and then you, right? So you have your branding, you have your logos, and if you don't, that's okay too, because there's there's templates right here that if you don't have a logo, that's okay. But the key thing is just sending them the info, because all the other stuff can be changed. So you want to tell them what you're going to be helping them do, okay? And then you want to give them a list of things to get ready to sell their house. So here's one of the things: 5 factors affecting the value of your property. We're going to talk about that during our conversation. Price is based on recent sales, location, the condition of your home, what competition is going on right now. So what are the comparables? Because every listing presentation, you're going to bring the active listings and the recent solds, right? Your CMA, we call it, the comparative market analysis. You're going to bring that to, and you're going to be learning about the CMA next class. But you're going to bring that so you have validation of the information you're talking about. And then the timing, why it's important to list today as opposed to 3 months from now. Okay. We're also going to be talking about how to sell your price, or how to price your property accordingly. Okay. And literally this, you put this into your listing presentation, this diagram. So I'm going to show you a copy of mine. Home selling guide, Prestige Realty Group. So typically what we do is we'll put an exterior shot of the house on the front page. First page, your home is the most important investment of your life. We talk about them. Then we go to how to choose your realtor. So I send this literally. This is how you're going to choose your realtor. Okay. How to select it. Here are the six things to look for when you're choosing a realtor. They ask me, every time I send this, they always ask me, okay, so Colin, tell me about your training and education. I'm like, I know why you're asking that question. It's because you looked at my listing presentation. Right? Objectives, marketing plans, outline focus plans. If you guys have the ability to do drone videos and you have access to virtual tours and all that kind of stuff, load it on your computer and show them that. Show them this is how we market properties and give them a sample of it. So what I use, because we use Matterport for all of our video, for all of our homes now in the dollhouse and stuff, I actually show them. I'm like, your house is going to look like this online. And I literally show them. I said, and people want a floor plan. I'm like, we click this button and look what happens. We have an overview of your house, and people are like amazed by it. So actually demonstrate how we market their properties with other properties that we've, now, if you've never had one, there are agents in your office that you can talk to and borrow. If you want to borrow mine, let me know. I'm happy to share it with you. So we have a guarantee, the Prestige Realty Group sales guarantee. We have 4 rules that we talk about. Okay. Because, and we take out vacant land, because selling vacant land is a whole other beast. Okay. We talk about the benefits to them, and we have our communication guarantee. So what we talk about with before we do the communication guarantee, I always ask the question, how do you like to be communicated with? It's the best way. Some people don't like getting phone calls. Some people only like communicating through text, right? Now, do we influence them to communicate the way I like to communicate best? 100% I do. For me, I'm all about texting, even before emailing. So I always say, what's the best form of communication? Like, how do you prefer to be communicated with? Would texting be okay? Led them down the path, right? And they say, yeah, absolutely. Texting's perfect. Great. I don't even give them the option for phone calls, because I can't sit there on the phone all day long. I'm on the phone all day long, right? But if they insist, say, texting's not that great because, I don't have a cell phone, or, we live in the thing, whatever. Okay, what's the best? Is it calls? And how often do you want to be communicated with? After every showing? Do you want to be once a week? Every morning at 6 o'clock when I get up? Like, when do you want, right? And set that schedule and that expectation. And then we talk about what they get from the Prestige Realty Group: communication, experience, marketing, pricing, staging. We always talk about that, and satisfaction. And then we go into Keller Williams. So the first part of it was all about them and then us, and then Keller Williams. Here's the home selling process, our 16-step marketing plan. Boom. That's what we do. It's our system. Every listing gets this. Now, are there some extras? Sure. But this is kind of the base of it. Do we do all of this? Sometimes they like, we don't want a sign on our front lawn. I'm like, okay. We don't have to put a sign on your front lawn. We want one because we want exposure. Here are all the websites that, going through Keller Williams system, these are all the websites that you get put on, plus my website, plus our office website, plus, so this is just from the Keller Williams world, but then we have all of our own, Prestige Realty Group.ca, whatever. Our 7-level advanced open house method. Okay, and then what I do is I actually demonstrate to them what we do for an open house. And here's basically the 7 levels of the open house. And then you'll notice this graph, how we price your home. Pricing your home competitively will generate the most activity. Boom, there's that chart. Right? So we talk about market value and the importance of what market value is. There's some agents that believe it's good to list just below market value to encourage multiple offer situations. We're going to tell you, this is our job right here, is to give you what the market value is. I always say also during this conversation is there's 3 prices that you have to think about, that what buyers are thinking about. The list price, which means nothing. It's what the sellers want. I could list a house for $1. Means nothing. Then there's the price, which is market value, is where we come in and we help you based on past sales, what the house is valued at. The third price is what the buyers are willing to pay for it. Some buyers are willing to pay over market value for it because there's something about the area, the school district, maybe the house that they value more than other buyers. Their motivation is much greater than, okay? When we talk about what pricing misconceptions are, okay, and how they determine value. But here's misconceptions. Average home price, what the seller wants and what they get. The time on market, people think that the value of their property goes up the longer it's on the market. So like, well, let's start here, the someday price. And if we have to take a haircut, well, we'll take a haircut. Well, then it becomes a stale listing. That's what happens here. The seller wants, the longer that the property is on the market, becomes stale, and you can actually sell it for less than market value because people stop looking at it because you're constantly doing price corrections. If we've ever adjusted a price on a property, I always make the first price reduction the biggest one because I don't want to do it again. So if we're overpriced, and I know we're overpriced because I've had overpriced listings in the past, or we're not getting the action we need within the first 10 days or 2 weeks of the property on the market, I go back to them. I say, we need to take a $30,000 haircut. My market, your market could be a little bit different, but you got to take a big chunk off the top, off the first 2 weeks to generate that business again. If you're only taking $2,000 off or $5,000 off, it's not enough.
Colin,
right? Yeah.
at this stage when you are reducing,
Sorry, you're back on mute. I can't hear you.
how do you reply to, but you told me market said this is what it's going to sell for. Now we're reducing it 30%. And you talked about other agents listing it high because they wanted the listing and, you know, all that argument. How do you handle that?
Great question.
I'm in the midst of one now that I'm
Okay,
going to have to reduce.
Great question. Great question. And when we first talked about your price, that was based on that day in the market at that time. We are spending more time on the market, and the longer we're spending on the market, you know, the less and less we're going to be able to, you know, expect to receive because we're considered a stale market. Do you feel, and I'll ask you, do you feel it's overpriced now or no?
You're asking me about this particular one?
Yeah.
We went a little higher just because it's such a seller's market.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else seems to be going, but they have a scary basement.
Right. And I would base it a lot on the feedback that you're getting, right? And say, yeah, you know what? It was a strategy. And I still feel confident that we can sell it at, you know, a range. And I always give a range within that range. We were hoping that we would get it at the higher, but here's the feedback and here's why it's not selling at that price. So what we need to do is a price correction and come out again. And I'm happy to do all the marketing over again, right? At the new price. People always say there's two reasons why houses don't sell, right? Do we know what those two reasons are?
Location or price?
Condition or price, right?
Location?
Condition.
Okay, condition and price.
But I'll tell you, it's actually only one reason why houses don't sell. Because even the crappy houses in the crappy locations, they're still selling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the price. So we need to make the price relative to what's going on. So yeah, it is a tough conversation, and that's why it's super important to have that difficult conversation up front to avoid that happening. But when it does happen, it's at that time that's a strategy that, you know, we felt and we're still confident in it, but based on the feedback that we've been getting, here's what the buyers out there are looking for. You know, your basement's needs some work. I'll say it's creepy, but your basement needs a little bit of work, right?
It is creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Right? And ask them, say, how do you feel about it? Okay? And say, would you pay this price for your house? Because right now we're running into roadblocks, and your house will sell. It's just we need to reflect that in the price. That's all. And sometimes some properties, depending on the area and how rural they are, and it is time. So and what happens is in the media blows it up and says, oh, it's a hot market. Houses are selling in hours, right? Or in a day, blah, blah, blah. That's in specific markets. So I also pull them out and say, listen, we're listening to the media. It's not necessarily affecting, it's not, conducive to the market that you're in your particular area. In your area, days on market is this. Houses are selling, they're spending this. So we just need to be patient. And we just need to keep working on getting people through the door.
One thing I'll say about that, I find a lot of the buyers that I'm talking to, they're hearing that too, and they're like, so it's not a good time for me, and I shouldn't do it right now, blah, blah, blah. So like I find like lately I've been saying like, I know you're probably hearing, that it's hot market and blah, 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 very competitive, I said, and then I'll say like, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a huge influx of listings come to the market, and that's evening out our inventory, which is making it less competitive. I won't say it's not, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but I just find like that's actually really working to like calm their fears, because they're hearing that and thinking like, well, I definitely shouldn't be getting involved. And so
Right.
like I find that that's been working pretty well.
Yeah, no, that's great. Awesome. So does that help answer that question? Yeah. Okay.
It does. It's still a difficult conversation, but
Definitely.
it needs to be done in the next day or two.
Yeah, definitely. Right. And sometimes it's owning it, right? Be like, yeah, you know what? We tried a strategy, didn't work, but we're still here, and we still are going to sell your house for the most amount of money that people are willing to pay.
Mhm.
Right. Because we're still above market value. It's still okay. Right. So there's also a list. You want to include the list of getting ready to sell. So the condition of the house and how staging makes a difference, and how to make the property stand out. So it's about your marketing to an extent. Because if you think about it, we don't sell houses. We market houses for our sellers. People buy our house. No one likes to be sold anything. Has anybody been sold a car and hated it? But lots of people buy cars and they absolutely love it. So we never want to sell somebody something. So that's why we market it and people buy. Okay. Yes, Jamie, I see your hand up.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Going back to the guarantee, in my previous world, whenever I say guarantee, there's always a consequence ramification if I don't follow through. Is that the same here? Am I allowed to guarantee something?
We always like to guarantee our work to an extent, right? That if they don't like it, they're happy to fire me.
Okay.
And I will let them out of the contract.
So simply, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can talk to whomever. So I guarantee, like, that's the guarantee that we provide. It's like, yeah, if you don't want to work with me, no problem. Chances are I don't want to work with you either. I don't tell them that, but it's true. and the guarantee's the guarantee. So yeah, be careful what you're guaranteeing, first of all. So if you're guaranteeing we're going to sell it at this price, or I guarantee you will only charge you this, no. It won't fly, especially with your broker. But you can guarantee the level of service, right? Under promise, over deliver, always. Okay. And if you have the systems in place that's going to connect with them regularly, whether you're making the calls, or you have a program making the calls, or your assistant's making the calls, whatever, you can guarantee that they're going to get a call every week from you, regardless. Okay. You want to ask questions to the seller. So questions. Here are the questions that you want to know going into the meeting. What's important to you when you're looking for a listing agent? What prior real estate transaction experiences have you had? One great question to write down always is tell me what would make this an amazing experience for you. Right? And in your past, when you've sold a house, what did the agent do well? And what did the agent not do well?
Can you say the first thing you said?
Yeah. The agent one. What in your past experience, what did an agent do well? And what did an agent not do well? And the question before that, Dennis, was what will make this an amazing experience? Or a good experience. Depends on how fluffy you want to be. But
That was the one. Thanks.
no problem. How frequently would you like to be updated? How would you want to be communicated with? I always guide them to the way I want to be, how I want to communicate, but sometimes I have to call them, and that's okay. How frequently? So is it after every showing, twice a month, weekly, daily, whatever? And I would ask them, I say, what is one of the biggest concerns you have for selling today? And right now in this market would be, well, finding a house to live in would be a big one. Making sure that I get what I want out of my house, right? You know, there's people out there that have built houses and they're flipping houses and they've overbuilt their house. Like they've spent way more money than what their house is worth. So in their mind, they're like, well, I have to sell it for 400 because I've put 400 into it. Right? I'm like, well, another tough conversation, right? It's like, well, unfortunately, you kind of overbuilt it. So not that we won't sell it, but maybe today's not the day to do it. Maybe we wait, right? Especially right now. And Jamie, I'm sure you can speak to this as well. Like the price of materials, oh my God, through the roof, right? So and that's going to play a big part of people building houses today that want to sell in 2 years, because the cost of what they're doing right now is inflated so high. Is the increase of value going to match the cost into you? I don't know. But be conscious of it. Talk about it, right? Talk about your experiences. What's that?
Just got an email. My cards and signs are in, so I'm excited to send out 1,000 cards to all the neighborhoods that I want to get to. So
all right. Well, if you need to leave now to get going, you let me know. Okay. Awesome. There are videos that you can watch on listing presentation. We got 8 minutes left, but I'm going to flip through all this stuff. At your listing appointment, when you show up, okay, so now you've sent them the pre-list package, you've got the appointment, you show up. Here's what the things you need to have, right? So one, you meet them, you greet them. I always greet them at the front door. I get them to show me their house. I walk through the house with them. Never do I go on my own. They say, yeah, go take a look around. Let me know if you have any. I'm like, no, can you show me the house? And the reason why I do that is because they're going to speak to the house of the features of the house that they really value, that they love. So I focus on that. So we just listed the house in Toronto, and what's going to sell it is the backyard and the walkout basement, because that's what the sellers are valuing right now. It's got a ravine lot and it's a walkout. The kitchen's gorgeous, but it's like it's a number 3 value, because there's lots of gorgeous kitchens in this neighborhood, but not many people have a ravine walkout. And I focus on that, and we focus on that in the marketing too. So when I'm talking to them about how to market it, I'm like, yeah, we're going to show that ravine lot. Yeah, we're going to show the walkout. We're going to show, all the great things about your property. You want to bring the listing presentation, so the booklet, the bigger booklet. Bring your comparative market analysis. Okay. You want to close for the listing agreement. So have that in your head. You're going to close them. Okay. So bring the paperwork with you. I don't know how many agents I've talked to where they have a listing agreement. They have a listing presentation. They forgot the listing agreement. I'm like, well, that was just wasted an hour of your time. Okay. And you want to always try to close them while you're there. Not, okay, think about it. Let me know. Will you get that all the time? But one of the questions to close, and we'll get there, but I'm going to tell you now in case we don't get there, is always ask them, is there any reason why you wouldn't be ready to sell your house today? And I wait. And then they say, well, yeah. Okay, well, what is that? They bring it up. We address it. Once we address it, make them feel comfortable with that objection. Then I ask them, okay, now, is there any reason why you wouldn't be prepared to list your house today? They say no. Great. Here's the contract. Let's go through the contract, and I get them to sign it before I walk out the door. This works amazing when you're when you're fighting for the listing. I've won listing presentations. I've showed up first. They didn't even interview the next two because I got them on paper. You don't have to. I've had people say, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to list today? They're like, yeah, we're actually going to be interviewing two or three more agents. I'm like, okay, is there anything that you think that they can bring to the table that I can't? Usually that's a commission conversation, right? Commission. Well, we want to see what their commission is. Well, based on all the things that we've said that we can do, is commission an issue? Sounds like you want to net the most amount of money for your house, right? The net number is important to you. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell me why. And we dive into that. And I deal with that objection. Okay. Is there any other reason? And I'll push it. Now, there's sometimes I back off based on, I'm not a super pushy guy, but I back off. And when I do back off, I say, okay, you're going to go meet with them. When are you meeting with them? Well, they're right after, or Tuesday. I'm like, okay. Are you okay if I call you after that meeting? Absolutely. Perfect. Please don't sign anything until I have an opportunity to have the conversation with you. No problem. So there is my next opportunity, and I've already booked it before I walk out. Does that make sense? Because I don't leave it loosey-goosey to wait to hear back from them, because you'll never hear back from them. Okay, so the greet, there's a script for the greet. Walk through the house, there's a script. You can create a checklist. So there is a checklist on there and go through the house. I literally make notes when I'm walking through. Sure, people do it. It's great. I'm not a high C personality, so I just look at, I'm a high ID. So I look at, yeah, it's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Yeah, it's got 2-car garage. Yeah, walkout basement. Yeah, right. Just make these notes. I look at the furnace. I look at the electrical panel. I'm not an inspector or whatever. So I just look at the basic stuff and I make it look like, yeah, I'm interested in seeing. I need to know what upgrades they've made so that I can compare more realistically. Okay. With your listing present. Yeah.
So do you normally go in there with the ones that you're going to compare it to and then do your CMA later so you get a second chance to come back, or you just already done? And
so I do a CMA based on what I know of the property before. So when I'm on the phone with them, qualifying them, I ask them, how old's your furnace? I ask them, what upgrades have you done since you bought the property? So I do create the CMA just to save time and I don't have to go around. But if I have to make an adjustment based on, so if I go in there, they say, oh, we just renovated our kitchen, but it's garbage when I get there. I'm like, okay, so, right. And then I peel back and say, that's why I always give a range. So on the high end, it's like, yeah, we can kind of market it to the high end of the range. or based on some of the conditions and stuff like that, we can market it to the lower end of this range. But there's a range, and that's their expectation. If you solidify one number, and you're going to learn this when pricing properties in that segment, when you commit to that one price, man, you're on the hook. You can be a rock star, or you can bank your reputation on it, right? And it's not a good idea. So I always give a range, and not a big range like $100,000 range. Typically around $20,000 to $30,000. Right?
Yeah.
Based on your market, like that's a big range in Moncton, $20,000 to $30,000. Okay. Cool. So that's the sample of the home seller's guide.
Where would we find like that, that checklist, and where do we find the links to the videos at the end there?
Yeah, so I have the links. I can email it to you. Well, all the links.
Are you going to do that for all of us?
Yeah. Well, the links should have been sent to you.
They're all on the Ignite. All of them. You can print them all off.
Oh, they're all in the drive. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, all of them are there. Yeah.
So, and those checklists and stuff are in there as well. If you guys want, so the people that are
I don't
in the
see the home
program,
checklist there.
Oh no, it's not. Okay. It is in command, but regardless, I can send it to you. If you're in the coaching program, you have access to the Google Drive. My listing presentation is in there. This is in there. If you're not in the coaching program and want a copy of this, just message me and I'm happy to send it to you. Okay?
Did we tell you that we love you today? I'm just checking.
No.
Okay.
But that's nice, Dennis. I love you too.
I love you. I love you.
Who said that? Oh, I love you too, Charlotte.
Colin, I think you have a really unique way of keeping us on track. And like now I feel like I have a ton of homework to catch up on, and it might be like till the weekend to do it, but I like it. Thank you.
That's what Joanne and I were just talking about. Like starting for the other three, it didn't really resonate until today. You're like, okay, well, did you do this? And it's just like, well, we weren't really told to, and I've been trying to do other things. And it's like, oh shit, this is really important. So
yeah.
So Dennis and I already have a date to go over our scripts this weekend together for next week.
Awesome. And you'll see, I want you to focus on the mission, because part of the exercises of Ignite is to partner up and work on this together. Right? So, and the key thing I want you to remember, especially with Ignite, is implement this. Do it. Because if you don't do it, you're going to do it in 3 years after all this hamster wheel running around. Get it done, get it out of the way. Don't overcomplicate it. It's easy for me to say, don't overcomplicate it, but all the information.
In university, there's Ignite. Is this sort of like a program of this overview again?
Yeah, it's all on command, like on Connect.
Yes.
And you can literally watch the videos. So yeah. Joanne, you're in coaching. In the Google Drive, there's an Ignite folder, and in that Ignite folder,
oh no, I have that.
All the videos of what we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just wondered because I see this as so valuable. I want to make sure I can revisit it again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The problem is, and we got to remember this, the problem is there's so much stuff coming at you that you'll be like,
well, and that's why I'm thinking I need to revisit it.
I'm supposed to do my pre-listing package like 6 months ago. Oh crap.
Well, I gotta get that done because I have a pre-listing I have to do on May 1st. So
awesome. And there's no time but now, right? When's the best time to plant a tree?
Today.
Now.
25 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. Do it today.
I have a listing presentation tomorrow night, so I'm going to do this pre-listing package today. And drop it off.
Awesome.
With a bottle of wine, maybe.
Yeah, if y'all have any questions about it, just please don't hesitate to reach out. I am available. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Really
Thank you so much.
Great job, Colin. Thanks.
All right.
Bye,
Colin, this was fantastic. Like, loved it. Mwah.
My pleasure, guys.
Dennis,
I'll send you a Zoom for Saturday morning.
Sounds good. And I'll make sure I got it on Google and it'll chime for me.
All right, guys. Enjoy.
I
Bye.
won't wake you up in the morning.
Montega, good luck, brother. Good to see you.
For those that missed that.
That made my day.
Bye, Jamie. Bye, guys. Nice
Bye,
to see you,
everybody.
Mike and Mary.
Yeah, bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, Natalie.